In its fourth edition, many have commended strides made by the African Nations Championship, also referred to as CHAN. Tonight we ask, has the African-based Players Continental showpiece lived up to its billing as the platform to shine for footballers flying their trade at home? Hello and welcome to Match Point this week. This is the program here on CCTV Africa that brings you fresh perspectives on both African and global sport. I'm Mahia Mutua. Here's what we have for you tonight. South African swimmer Karin Prinsloo eyes Rio Olympics spot after a shaky 2015. And Kenya celebrates its top sports personalities at a colorful event in Nairobi. Well, let's begin in Rwanda, where Emery Bayisenge was both hero and villain as Rwanda's Amavubi beat Cote d'Ivoire 1-0 in the opener of the Orange African Nations Championships at the Amahoro Stadium in Kigali today. Bayisenge's inch-perfect free kick in the 16th minute was the solitary goal of the Group A match that lifted the hosts to first in their group. He then had a chance to double the team's lead through a penalty in the 53rd minute, but Cote d'Ivoire keeper Badra Ali Sangale saved to keep it at 1-0. The Elephants' last-minute efforts to level the game saw JJ Gwiza hit the post in the 90th minute as Rwanda held on for a 1-0 in the presence of their president, Paul Kagame. Well, in 2009, the Confederation of African Football held the first edition of the African Nations Championships. Many across the footballing world didn't buy into the premise of another African Nations senior men's competition. But 4 editions on, perception about the competition for locally based players is now changing, thanks in part to FIFA granting it an A-level international status, as well as scouts flocking the competition to hunt for new talent. Celestin Karane takes stock of Africa's second-tier national competition.
The Democratic Republic of Congo were the first country to win the African Nations Championships and have competed in every edition since. For DRC's players, the competition, which is a reserve of local-based players, has been a welcome opportunity.
People often disrespect local leagues in Africa, thinking we're not good enough, those of us playing at home. But it is domestic football which develops a sport in the country, and so this is our stage to shine and show off talent that sometimes goes unnoticed.
But when the competition first began in 2009, it wasn't enthusiastically received both within and out Africa's borders.
When I heard about this idea before the first edition, I was a bit skeptical because I said, well, do we really need a new competition? What is this about? Then I started to follow it, and I realized that actually it's a unique competition.
In Africa, top talents are often shipped out to leagues abroad even before they can test their skill on domestic leagues. But not every talented player gets this opportunity, and so the competition tries to cater for those who may have fallen through the cracks.
If you are in this generation, it's difficult for you to make a mark as a player playing locally. So you have to find your feet. Where are you going to compete? Sometimes we go to the Africa Cup of Nations and we get teams that do not have. They don't, probably from the 23 they have only one player who's playing locally. So if you look at the sign in these times, it is important that we create a platform for players who are playing locally. I feel that we should use more also use it as a development tournament.
Today, CAF say the statistics show a huge leap in revenue and TV viewership, a clear indication that the competition is truly catching on. This attributed in part to FIFA's recognition of the competition since the last edition. The tournament now affects the rankings, albeit equivalent to friendlies.
The level of competition has improved over time, but more importantly, the tournament gives a good representation of the talent in the continent. Unlike AFCON, where sometimes one region dominates the competition, in CHAN, all 6 zones in the continent are represented in this edition, and that is some very good progress.
Des nations de football au monde.
CHAN may not be Africa's blue ribbon football tournament, but it has a role to play in developing the beautiful game in a continent rife with passion and talent for the sport. CAF hopes that in the long run, it will help in bridging the gap between international and local-based players. Celestine Karone, CCTV, outside the Amahoro Stadium in Kigali, Rwanda.
Well, now at least 6 of Africa's top football clubs have replaced their foreign coaches with local tacticians in the last few months. The list includes Orlando Pirates, TP Mazembe, RUS Rabat, and the latest, Egypt's Al Zamalek, as former star Mido made a return to the White Castle as manager. Some have been calling it a coach's spring in the region. Adel Mahroui has that story for us.
The news came from South Africa and moved north from Congo, spreading to Sudan, Morocco, Libya and Egypt, to include some of the top African football clubs. Local coaches have been replacing foreigners, but analysts here in Cairo say it's merely a coincidence.
We really can't say there's a phenomenon here, but rather individual conditions to each of these clubs.
Take El Zamalek, for instance. Its former striker and Tottenham's Midos replaced the Brazilian Marcos Paqueta after just 2 months of managing the team. Over 18 months ago, El Zamalek sacked Mido. This time, though, the club says it's more prepared for a coach like him. And he's also cheaper. Libya's Al Ittihad had different reasons.
Pierre Lechante's contract was supposed to end in November 2015. The club was keen to extend the contract for 6 months so that he could continue to take care and prepare the team for the African Confederations Cup. But Lechantre was not happy with some points in the contract. He was adamant about not returning to Libya, preferring to remain in Tunisia.
Foreign coaches remain influential in many African clubs. Some argue that they have achieved more titles for their teams than the nationals.
If we look at Africa's history, very few local coaches have achieved national, regional or international titles, whether with clubs or with national teams. Arab or African players tend to respect more a foreign coach. There is a mystery to them from foreigners. Also, foreign coaches are not driven by emotions or favors. That makes them more successful.
It may not be a trend swooping Africa or dominating the scene, but having African coaches leading the top continent's teams is definitely an experiment worth encouragement and a step football needs. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
Well, we'll be bringing you a bit more from continental football a bit later on. Right now, it's time for us to take a short break. Here's what's also coming up. South African swimmer Karin Prinsloo eyes Rio Olympics spot after a shaky 2015. The countdown to the Summer Olympic Games is well underway, with just under 8 months to the sporting showpiece in Rio de Janeiro. For many athletes, time is running out to secure passage to the event, with key events like the National Championships the only remaining opportunity to record a qualifying time. That is now the case for swimmer Karin Prinsloo, who spent most of 2015 out with injury, and now the pressure is on to book a place at the Games, as CS Duplessis now reports.
Competing in an Olympic Games is a dream come true for any athlete, but to be privileged enough to compete in two is truly special, especially for Karin Prinsloo. The 26-year-old already has experienced one and now wants to secure her place at the next Olympics, but the 200-meter freestyle and backstroke specialist knows that after an injury-plagued 2015, she has her work cut out to qualify for the sporting showpiece in Rio.
My three main events, which I have made the times in, is the 200 freestyle, 200 backstroke and 400 freestyle. Obviously things have changed last year with my injury, so obviously I have to see first what's my main races now, but I think those three races will be my best shot to qualify.
The University of Pretoria athlete is focusing on changing a few things in 2016 in order to streamline her preparations for the national championships, where all swimmers hoping to go to the Olympics are expected to swim qualifying times. But streamline doesn't always mean shortcuts, with Prinsloo swimming over 12 kilometers per day as part of her training.
Normally I swim very long hours. Last year I wasn't able to do that because of my shoulder. So it was difficult. We had to do more easy stuff, but I'm back to doing my long distance programs, which really works for me. So really hoping that it's enough time to get me there.
Prinsloo believes that having participated in London in 2012 gives her a massive advantage mentally in her journey to reach the event in Brazil.
After London, the stress you experience there, I've never stressed that much in my life, and ever since, every big competition after that was a breeze compared to Olympics. So I would be so happy to make my second Olympics, because I think I would just enjoy it and really try and do the best I can. Although I feel like I have accomplished my dream the first time, I never thought I would still swim till today. So I think qualifying for my second one would just be a prayer come true.
The next 2 months will be crucial for Karen Prinsloo as she sets her sights on qualifying for the Olympic Games at the South African National Championships. But it's going to take a lot of time in the pool and a lot of preparation if she is to reach that goal of qualifying for the Rio Olympics. CS Du Plessis, CCTV, Pretoria.
Right now to the story that dominated athletics this week. Independent investigator Dick Pound said that former head of World Athletics Lamine Diack ran a clique that covered up organized doping and blackmailed athletes while senior officials looked the other way. Pound's report for the Independent Commission of the World Anti-Doping Agency added to a rapidly growing scandal involving organized doping and its concealment that has rocked world athletics to the core. However, despite slamming the top hierarchy at the IAAF, Pound exonerated new president Sebastian Coe, who was Diack's vice president for 7 years, and said he was the right man to reform the organization.
The information the IC has very clearly indicates that the disruption of the Federation emanated from the very top, the president, Lamine Diack. He inserted his personal legal advisor, Habib Cissé, into the IAAF Medical and Anti-Doping Department in November of 2011, with the London 2012 and the Moscow 2013 championships looming up. He did so to enable Cissé to manage and follow up Russian athlete biological passport cases.
It was also apparent to the Commission that the institutional knowledge of the problems with Russia was far wider than has been acknowledged, and that the IAAF had displayed no genuine appetite to deal with the problems.
Yes, the IAAF Council should have been more aware of what was going on. Were they in a position to know more? No. And I need to put systems in place that make sure that the current council and successor council and my successor is never in a position where we do not understand the nature of the day-to-day running of the organization.
You're watching Match Point. It's time for us to take another short break. Here's what's still to come. Kenya fetes its top sports personalities at a colorful event in Nairobi.
Africa is not one country.
And Africa is not one story.
This force is clearly instructed to fight back. But as Africans, we share the same belief.
that whatever the challenge, we will overcome.
CCTV Africa brings you unrivaled coverage.
From the fight against Ebola to the fight for greater freedom.
From the figures seeking your vote to the figures shaping your economy.
This is Guy Henderson reporting from the jungles of Eastern Congo.
And all the reasons to celebrate the diversity of life on this great continent.
He's a speedster and he's very solid indeed.
It's David Rudisha, 1:40.91 is shown on the clock.
Welcome back. Now, Friday was a big night for Kenyan sports as the 2015 Sportsman of the Year or Soya Awards were held. Javelin star Julius Yego and steeplechase champion Aymen Kieng took home the individual honors as yet again Kenya's sports luminaries denounced the growing threat of doping in the country.
The evening got underway with words from the ceremony's guest of honor, none other than 2000 African Footballer of the Year and former Cameroon record goal scorer Patrick Mboma.
Whatever what happened tonight, keep on fighting hard because sports is a good thing for health. For sports is a good thing for your achievement. Sports is a good thing for because sports can send a lot of messages, and the first message is hope.
With that out of the way, it came time to award Kenyan excellence in sports over the past 12 months.
David Lungango, volleyball. Well done.
It was a good night for volleyball as the sport claimed the Coach of the Year title with outgoing women's team coach David Lungaho winning the award. The man who helms both the women's national side, the Malkia Strikers, as well as the Kenya Prisons volleyball side, was named 2015's Best Tactician. A phenomenal 2015 for Julius Yego saw him named the year's best athlete. The man, called the YouTube athlete, became the first Kenyan and African to win the World Javelin title at the World Championships in Beijing, while also setting an African and national record last year. Aymen Kieng, the world steeplechase champion, won the Women's Award, beating out volleyball star Massimo Im and marathoner Florence Kiplagat. Yego, meanwhile, trumped 1,500 meters world champion Asbel Kiprop and cross-country athlete Geoffrey Kamoror. Volleyball veteran Edna Rotich was honored on the night with the Community Hero Award for her efforts in promoting and spreading sport in Kenya, while steeplechase staple and Olympic gold winner Ezekiel Kemboi took home the Evergreen Award. The Team of the Year award went to Kenya Premier League champions Gor Mahia, while the Malkia Strikers national women's volleyball team won the Women's Award. Doping took center stage as Cabinet Secretary Hassan Wario said that the Kenya government had pledged $5 million to the country's proposed anti-doping agency.
Enough is enough. The glory in Beijing was almost stolen by the two cheats,
almost messed up our celebration. But we're not going to be firefighting by running around. We're going to deal with this structurally. And anti-doping agency has been given all the powers. On December 14th and 15th, we had an expert from World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, who was sent here to help us clean up the legal bill and also help us clean up the policy. We are now taking that to the stakeholders, and we are asking the Parliament to fast-track this law so that we can have clean sports in Kenya forever.
It is here that doping reared its ugly face on the athletic scene. The consequences for those involved locally and internationally have been severe. That is how it should be.
Now looking from the past to celebrating the future now, it is a big year ahead for African football, with qualification for both AFCON 2017 and Russia 2018 up for grabs. Tunisia's AFCON hopes are in the balance, having lost their opening qualifier, but it appears the players have extra motivation to reach Gabon now, as CCTV's Dan Williams now reports.
Making a name for himself in Spain. After spells in Tunisia, Germany and France, Aymen Abdennour ignored interest from English clubs to join Valencia in August last year. Despite the club's poor start that has seen former Manchester United defender Gary Neville parachuted in as coach until the end of the season, Abdennour has no doubt he made the right choice.
Je sais qu'on a joué
We have played against some of the best clubs in the world like Barcelona and Real Madrid, which have exceptional players, tactically, technically and physically. Ronaldo and Messi are at the moment the two best players in the football world. It's an honor for me to play in Valencia against such big clubs.
Je pense que c'est un honneur pour moi de jouer à Valence contre des grands clubs comme ça.
Although Abdennour's immediate focus is on football, his thoughts continue to be with Tunisia, and in particular his hometown of Sousse, that last year was the scene of a terrorist attack that tragically saw 38 people killed. And Abdennour believes sport has a role to play in helping the country rebuild.
For sure it can. I was born in Sousse in Tunisia. It's a very touristic and it is a pleasant city. It is somewhere that must be visited.
Recent events in Tunisia gives Abdennour further motivation to ensure his country qualifies for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations, with a crunch match against Togo coming up in March.
La Tunisie, on aime beaucoup le football. Notre pays, on a 10 millions d'habitants.
We love football in Tunisia. Our country has a population of just 10 million people, but we love football. I think we have a good international group. We are young and we can achieve big things.
Dans l'équipe nationale, on est jeune, on peut faire quelque chose de grand.
And then there's the altogether more important matter of World Cup qualification, something Tunisia has not managed since 2006.
Nous, c'est l'objectif numéro 1.
For us, it is our #1 objective, and I think we have the quality. We can qualify, but we need to work hard, a lot of focus and a lot of dedication. We have the quality, but we need to make sacrifices. But I hope with all my heart to qualify.
Il faut beaucoup de sacrifices, et j'espère de tout mon cœur d'être qualifié.
Abdennour has already enjoyed quite a journey in his career, but he hopes the road ahead brings even greater rewards with both club and country. Dan Williams, CCTV, Valencia.
Well, as we saw earlier, this week, Kenyan sports fans were treated to the sight of former Cameroon international Patrick Mboma, who graced the annual Sportsman of the Year Awards held in Nairobi on Friday. This week on Matchpoint Top 5, we look at the top 5 most capped players to have ever played for the indomitable Lions.
At number 5 sits Pierre Wome. The 36-year-old defender made 68 appearances with the indomitable Lions in a career from 1995 to 2012. Having played in the top flight in England, Italy and Germany, Wome was part of the Cameroon teams that won consecutive Africa Cup of Nations titles in 2000 and 2002, as well as Olympic gold in the year 2000. Fourth on our list is goalkeeper Idriss Kameni. Having already made his first team debut at just 17 years of age, the Malaga stopper already had his taste of World Cup football at the age of 18 at the 2002 tournament. Since then, he has gone on to make 75 appearances to date for Cameroon and even featured for the side last year in a World Cup qualifier. Jeremy Njitap comes in at number 3. Now aged 37, the right-back and midfielder enjoyed his most successful club days at Real Madrid and Chelsea. Meanwhile, for the national squad, he first turned out for the team in 1996, going on to make 118 appearances in 14 years for Cameroon. He was a member of the team for 7 Africa Cup of Nations and 2 World Cup tournaments. Samuel Eto'o shares the same number of appearances as Njitap with 118. The most prolific indomitable lion first featured for the national side just 1 year after Njitap and has since gone on to become the most decorated African footballer of all time. Aside from personal highlights such as winning the Africa Player of the Year award a record 4 times, he is also the country's highest goal scorer of all time. And at number 1 is the great Rigobert Song. The most capped Cameroonian footballer of all time, Song made 137 caps with the indomitable Lions and featured at 4 World Cup tournaments and 8 Africa Cup of Nations. His incredible career spanning 17 years lands him atop on our list of this week's Matchpoint Top 5.
Well, that does it for this edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to matchpoint@cctv.com. That's our email address. Or visit our Facebook page for social media interaction. CCTV Africa is the Facebook page. You can also stay in touch with us on Twitter. The handle, as always, is CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Mahe Mutwe. We leave you now with this week's Move of the Week, which comes from the English Premier League. It's Aaron Ramsey's goal for Arsenal in the 3-3 draw with Liverpool this week.